All right. Well, let's do this again. All right, shall we? All right, your friend here. I actually just created a video about 3 days ago about battleships, and before I even had a chance to publish it and put it out on social media, I was talking to a lot of my Navy friends, and I thought I'd change the contents of that just a little bit, tweak it a little bit so that it's a little bit more unbiased. Uh, because I have my opinions on this, and it's pretty heavy on my part because, hey, I'm a tin can sailor. I've never been an aircraft carrier. So I'm not a submariner. I am a small boy, destroyer type, frigate type of a sailor. So I know my shortcomings when it comes to having opinions on this matter, right? So that being said, now before I continue on, normally, I do this at the end of the video wherein I greet every one of our service members. I'm going to do that at the start of my videos now because some of you are not going to end up watching the whole video. But regardless, I want to contribute into shaking the hands of our service members out there that are doing a fabulous job right now in our conflict with Iran. And regardless, I don't care where you guys are at, especially those that are forward deployed. We love you guys. You guys come on home. To all our men and women, brothers, sisters, sons and daughters, come on home. There are people like us that are in the retired community that gets to do what we do now because you do what you do now. All right. So it's been a pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to serve with you guys. Post. But before we post, I actually screwed that up. Uh, so let's talk about battleships. At the start of my other video, I already talked about why we don't need it. Okay, so I'm going to deviate away from that. Let's start with the concept of having newer ships and actually starting that off by building 30,000 tons of behemoths right off the bat. Do we need it? Can we afford it? Are we capable of doing it? And as a matter of fact, if we have to do it, let's start right now, right? But before we actually get to conclude on my answer to this video, let's talk about why we actually started with battleships and what are battleships. Well, battleships are capital ships. What it means is that they are the biggest that we could build out there, with the exception of aircraft carriers that are between 90 to 100,000 tons now. Battleships in the era of the battleship society, World War I to begin with, actually early 1900s, the capital ships, the line of ships that we talked about was about putting a wall of steel on fleet versus fleet engagements on capital ships. At that time, technology was not up to par, up to 120 years later, which is presently. But at that point in time, we are able to hurl 14-inch shells, I think 12-inch to 14-inch shells, at a distance of about 15 to 20 miles. That was a line of sight all the way up down to the horizon, all right? Because technology was not up to par yet, for obvious reasons, okay? Then aircraft carriers came into play in the late 1920s to the early 1930s. The reason being was that these ships are able to spot, recon, provide intelligence, conduct surveillance on those same capital ships from an extremely vast distance. Vast distance, 100 plus miles at that time, 125 miles, which makes the battleships incapable. The bigger ships at that time are battleships. They're only able to hurl shells past 20 miles, the most, after World War I, while the enemy or opposition that's able to conduct surveillance and recon on the locations of these battleships are able to do it past on. So they are able to go beyond the range of these big guns. And if you're in the middle of the ocean, there is no support from the land, all right, aside from aircraft. So at that point in time, I think the Imperial Japanese Navy learned about this. more so quicker than the United States. They were able to implement these tactics and of course put it into a strategy which ended up, costing us world Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. That being said, how lucky we are, because when they attacked Pearl Harbor, none of our aircraft carriers were in port. All of them were conducting exercises. Whatever we have at that time based in the Western Pacific were all out. They were not in port. So now we didn't have a choice but to conduct our maritime operations and the succeeding battles using our aircraft carriers. Battle of Coral Sea, Battle of Midway, and then the next biggest event was the Battle of the Philippine Sea. Now, what happened, what transpired in between those were skirmishes, because now we were island hopping, right? We were using aircraft from aircraft carriers and big naval guns from our battleships to bombard the islands, to conduct island hopping campaigns in the Pacific. The Atlantic was a different matter, because Atlantic was a submarine war, and of course, during the Normandy invasion, we likewise used our battleships and big guns out of our cruisers to bombard the enemy on Omaha Beach and all the way inland to about 12 miles, right? So that was where the battleships actually propagated at. Till the end of the war, let me give you an insight here of some historical insight. The Japanese had two of the biggest battleships that ever was made, created. They were the Japanese Imperial Japanese Navy's two battleships, the Yamato and the Musashi. The Musashi was sunk in the Philippine Sea, if I'm not mistaken, or was it the Battle of the Leyte Gulf? One of those. Now, again, I don't edit my videos. This comes from here and after everything that I have learned through years that I've known this. Years and through news that are currently coming out. There are two, and I'll put it out later. I'm not gonna waste time into editing this. That's time consuming. So what you're hearing from me is currently what I know. Unedited, unfiltered. This is me, okay? So when the Musashi was sunk, all the Japanese had was the Yamato. Now, are you really going to put out a capital ship if you think that you don't control the seas? That's what happened with the Yamato and the Musashi. 3 years after the attack on Pearl Harbor, they were still inappropriately not being used. Okay? Because there was simply nothing to compete with at that time. They cannot outrange 55 plus Essex class aircraft carriers that the United States Navy had at that time. So numbers dictate a whole lot of sense in this. The Musashi and the Yamato had 18-inch guns. They can hurl a projectile further than the biggest one that we had, which were 16-inch guns from the Missouris and the Wisconsins, the Iowa classes, right? Which we had plenty at that time. Okay? So, at the end of the story was this. They finally couldn't figure out how to use them till the end, almost at the end of the war. Okinawa. They barely had enough fuel for a two-way transit for the Yamato. So what was the purpose of that? They were going to beach it on the beaches of Okinawa to act like some sort of buffer, right? Between the invading American forces and those that are defending Japan in Okinawa. Okay? So it didn't work out. They both got sunk anyway. Musashi got sunk in the Philippine Sea, and the Yamato got pummeled by diminutive aircraft able to carry bombs and or torpedoes. Okay? So that was the end of World War II when it comes to the relationship of battleships to where we're at right now. Now let's fast forward. Korean War, Vietnam War. We brought them back again. Remember, we decommed them after World War II, brought them back again in Korea, decommed them again, brought them back again in Vietnam. Guess what? We decommed them again 3 times after World War II, after Korea, after Vietnam, and put them back again. This time for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. What were they used for? Shore bombardment. 2,000-pound shells coming in, getting hurled at this distance now at about 25 miles. So in a span of 70 plus years till Desert Shield and Desert Storm, from the initial distance of 15 to 20 miles, the furthest that a 16-inch gun can go is 25 miles. Fast forward it to now. I get it. We're going to build battleships. Battleships normally weigh, all of these information, I actually had to do some changes because a retired Admiral Hone, H-O-N-E, I think Trent Hone, you can Google that up and see what he was talking about. He was actually talking with another retired captain that actually flew F-14s. They are biased into, hey, let's bring some capital ships back in line, you know, but after diving through it and talking about it and putting their brains together on it, they agree that it may not be the best option. And I'll share with you their information right now. Okay, capital ships, battleships, normally are going to weigh now between 35 and 40,000 tons. That's about 3.5 times the size of a 9,000-ton Arleigh Burkes. Now, when you do the math, Admiral Hone did his math on this thing. I'm looking at a picture of my last ship here. An Arleigh Burke class DDG is capable of carrying, okay, my mind went blank now. Is it 96 or 94 VLS cells? Vertical launch systems capable of launching a surface-to-air SM2, SM3, SM6, all three of them capable of hitting different types of targets, and Tomahawk TLAMs. 94 to 96. Let's just say 96. So, capability is about the ability to project power. If you're going to build a 35,000-ton battleship, you better have about 3.5 times the amount of capability. So, if an Arleigh Burke is capable of shooting 96 missiles out of its VLS cells, out of 3.5 times, that's about, I don't know, 350 missiles, cram it into a battleship hull, right? And from what we've seen, they want rail guns, they want lasers, probably, 4 close-in weapon systems, because you gotta defend these battleships, a couple of torpedo tubes, the Arleigh Burkes, I do believe we had 6 torpedo tubes, couple of 5-inch guns or bigger. The Zumwalts were initially had 155 millimeter ground pounding guns, 2 of them up at the bow. Probably we're gonna put 3 of them or 4. I don't know. All right. So the capability now has to increase. Admiral Hone said, so are we deviating away from distributed lethality or lethality to dispersals? Because you could literally put that firepower to battleships that we're trying to create, that we're trying to build, actually has the capability of 7 Arleigh Burkes, because it's 3.5 is to 1, right? So let's just say 2 BBs to 7 DDGs. Cost. If it's going to cost about $10 billion plus arming this system, this new hull, which is what we're envisioning, it's going to cost just the hull alone, right? $10 billion or more. Trust me, it's going to be more. It's going to be more. Okay? So let's just conservatively say it's $10 billion. The price of an Arleigh Burke is $2.5 billion. Let's just say it's 3. So for $10 billion, that's 3 1/3, we can literally build 3 Arleigh Burkes. The advantage of having more hulls that are smaller and still capable of defending themselves is dispersal. You put one battleship with all that capability, it becomes one target. So he went back again to the Musashi and the Yamato. It became one target, in that case, two targets, to where they were not capable of steaming her out for fear of losing it. Now, if we can build 20 battleships, let's go! Go Navy! Well, look what happened to the Zumwalt. What happened after the Ticonderogas, and then after that, the Arleigh Burkes got built? The most successful building program we ever had were Arleigh Burkes. We now have, I do believe, 76, right? Because of necessity. We don't have anybody left. We don't have anything left. We don't have the LCS. What was a disaster. The Zumwalts, we only have 2 or 3. The Constellation class frigate got canceled. Of all the ships that we need smaller ships that are capable of doing menial tasks, and we got it canceled. Now we're gonna have a Coast Guard cutter be the hull of our next FFG. Well, that's another topic. That's another point of discussion. Okay. So what are we saying here is that I know it sounds grim that we talk technicalities. We just, it just doesn't jive with the current program that the United States Navy is trying to integrate into its system now. To top it off, we need ships yesterday. That was the reason why we were incorporating the 7, we were trying to modernize the 7 Ticonderogas. Well, guess what? Out of the 7, 4 of them already got decommissioned. We spent, oh my gosh, hundreds of millions of dollars. And we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars again to get the other 4 that we got decommissioned back into service so that we could integrate them into the system, have them deploy one last time. Well, out of the 7, you're probably wondering, well, we got 3 left. Yes, we have 3 left. You know how much we spent on those 3? You know how much? About $4 billion. 4 and a change. That's the price of 1 or 2 Arleigh Burke class. Duh! Here's what's worse. None of them are saleable. I've been talking, 2 of them are being modernized here in Seattle. The Chosen and the Cape St. George, right? I don't know where the other one is. And from my last discussion with friends that are working on it, and ATG that just saw it out of Naval Station Everett and Bremerton, they are not saleable. So we spent billions of dollars to modernize these ships, and we cannot even deploy them once. So it's a cluster slash FUCK out there. And we are going to build battleships. We do not have the capacity, the manpower, the trained manpower. Admiral Holmes said, and the Secretary of Field said that we need about the base of our shipbuilding is so scraped out that we need about 250,000 shipbuilders and shipyard workers to remedy this issue. Now, here's the good news. Out of all this gloom and doom, there's one good news to this, right? If we use this blueprint to sell it to the government to where we can build this ship, if we have this and continue on prioritizing shipbuilding by keeping this manpower of shipbuilders, of shipyard workers, then we can build and we can probably compete with China. Well, right now we can't. Probably in 25 years we still can't because the Chinese are just booming. They're building about 40% of the they own about 40% of the shipbuilding contracts in the world. We have like 0.1 on our public shipyards, and we're prioritizing on aircraft. We're not even building commercial ships, people. We're prioritizing on our own CVNs, our SSNs and SSBNs. That's it. Our DDGs. That's all we can build right now because we don't have anything in the pipeline. There's no CGX, there's no FFGX, there's no DDGX. None in the drawing board. The latest one we have is an FFGX out of a Coast Guard cutter, the Legend class, which there's gonna be another 20-minute topic, because for you to incorporate that hull into what we need in the Navy is gonna end up costing us more instead of starting from scratch. But we can't start from scratch because we need ships now. You see the problem? It's cascading, right? So that, you have one good point. Let's use this people that we're gonna train to build more ships, but we don't have them now. Admiral Holmes says that it takes 20 to 25 years to build and start incorporating everything that we learned into another new shipbuilding program. It's unlike the Army, wherein they can build rifles in 5 years and use a replacement for the Striker in 3 to 4 years. The Air Force have already started with the 47s, right? And the 21s, the B-21 and the F-47s, which they actually plucked out of the Navy's FAAX, the new air superiority fighter, to replace the F-18 Echoes. Yeah, that's another bad news. So we're kind of stuck in, we have a quagmire of bad news here. So again, do we need it? You tell me. Now, if we build it, can we incorporate it into our system and actually start building ships? Trust, I could probably say no to both, but after listening to Admiral Hone, the latter one I could say yes to, right? So you guys take care. It got pretty lengthy, but again, I don't edit this thing, all right? This is out of here and out of what I know. I'm just a regular Joe Schmo working engineering in all my ships, and that's my forte, all right? I don't know about weapon systems. Weapon systems about things that I read from, and history. History is where I'm good at. So if you guys have, you can contest anything that I said. Let me know if you guys have a different opinion, because I could learn. I'm not here to tell you guys what's true. Well, I'm here to tell you guys what's true, but I'm not here to tell you guys to do what I want to get done. All right? So again, till the next video, you guys take care. To our men and women out there, brothers, sisters, sons, and daughters, men and women, right? You guys take care. Come on home. Again, thank you for what you guys do, because it allows us folks to do what we do now. Take care. It's a pleasure, privilege, and an honor.